Well, for more analysis, we can cross now to Beirut and speak to Jasmine El-Gamal, who is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and a former Middle East advisor at the US Department of Defense. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. What kind of a message do you think this decision by President Donald Trump sends to America's allies in the region about just what kind of an ally Washington actually is?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. And I think that's a really good question, and it's really important to consider what messages our actions send to our allies. But I think it's also important to remember that this is not the first time that President Trump has done something like this. It wasn't that long ago that he made pretty much the same exact move after another similar phone call with the Turkish president, where he abruptly announced that he was withdrawing all troops from northern Syria without consulting with allies, without consulting with even some of his closest advisors. And it begged the same question then: what kind of ally is the United States? I think that the the president's message is clear and his intent is clear. It always has been. He wants to get US troops out of Syria. He has made that clear from the very beginning. In fact, it has been one of his most consistent campaign promises and something that he really wants to follow through on. And so, in that sense, I don't think that the departure of US troops in itself should come as a shock or a betrayal. It's about how he does it, it's about the way that he messages, the abrupt way that he does it without consulting with allies, without giving anyone a heads up, and without giving people the space to plan for a longer term and more sustainable solution.
Yeah, but it also depends on another thing, doesn't it? It depends on what Turkey decides to do next. And we don't know what President Erdogan has in mind. I mean, what are your sort of thoughts as to what Turkey's next steps might be?
Well, I think we can glean a little bit of information from the last time this happened. You know, that when President Erdogan and President Trump had a conversation, and President Trump basically said to Erdogan, "All right, you're on your own. We're going to leave." And Erdogan said, "No, we don't want to own this thing. We just want you to help out more." And so I think that to see, right? I mean, this is something that was just announced, and we don't know exactly how it's going to play out. Very, very few people seem to have the details because there may not be any details at this point. But in terms of what Erdogan wants to do, what he doesn't want to do is be left to deal with this entire mess on his own, and it is quite a large mess. And so I don't think that we should, you know, I don't think we should count on him going in and creating such a big responsibility for Turkey that they have to own the entire region. That is not what he wants.
Let's just talk for a moment about the follow-up message from President Trump, a kind of don't you dare kind of a message to Ankara. He said, if they do anything that he considers to be off limits, then he'll obliterate their economy. I mean, first of all, what do you think he means by off limits? And secondly, do you think President Trump is serious about serious economic sanctions against Turkey in the event they cross this red line of the US president?
I think that President Trump, this is vintage Trump. We've seen this before. This was completely expected. President Trump acts first, thinks later, and then acts again, often in complete contradiction to his first action. So what happened is pretty clear. He tweeted something, he released a statement, he said, we're out, you have to deal with this yourself. He's doing this because he genuinely and consistently has wanted to get US troops out of Syria. And he's been very frustrated with how difficult it's been to get our European allies to step up and do more. And so I think this was his way of kind of trying to put some pressure, up the ante a little bit, if you will. What happened after that is that there was a huge backlash from both sides of the aisle. You had Lindsey Graham coming out saying this was, an abhorrent move. We can't abandon our allies. The Kurds fought and died for us when we were fighting ISIS. And so he tried to backtrack. The way he does that is saying, oh, by the way, if you do anything that's off limits. What he means by off limits here is attacking the SDF, attacking the US's partners in the Northeast, and causing sort of any damage to them. So we already see him trying to walk back what he said earlier, because whether it's because he doesn't know what he did or he doesn't realize how grave the consequences could be, or whether he really took to heart what his critics were saying. Either way, we see him already starting to walk it back.
Yeah, lots of other questions I'd love to ask you. For example, the fate of all those Islamic State group fighters, their families, their other halves, much more I would like to talk to you about, but we're out of time. Thank you so much, Jasmine El-Gamal, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council, former Middle East advisor at the US Department of Defense.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.